The auction notice was printed on pink carbon paper, so thin you could see the boy's thumbprint through it, and 12-year-old Wesley Arden held that paper under the fluorescent bulb of the county clerk's office, like it was a lottery ticket he didn't quite believe in yet. He counted his money one more time on the counter. 3 20s, a 10, and a 5 in coins sorted into a Ziploc bag that still smelled faintly of the tuna sandwich it had carried to school the Tuesday before his mother left. $75 exact. The clerk, a woman with a pencil tucked behind her ear and a mustard stain on her cuff, looked at the money, then at Wesley, then at the pink paper, and said, "Honey, you know what that is you're buying?" "Yes, Mom," Wesley said. "Lifeguard Tower number 4, Crescent Bay. It's condemned." "I know. It doesn't come with the land. You can't live in it. The county's going to tear it down in the fall." "I know." She held his gaze for a long second. Then she did something Wesley would remember for the rest of his life. She licked the tip of her pencil, crossed out the full demolition stamp on the deed, and wrote above it in her small, neat handwriting, "Stay of demolition pending owner inspection." She didn't have the authority to do that. She did it anyway. "Don't tell my boss," she said. "And don't drown." That was how Wesley Arden, 6 weeks after his mother left him at the Greyhound station in Oceanside with a note that said, "I'll come back when I'm ready," and $20 folded inside a pack of gum, bought a rotting Lifeguard Tower on the southern end of Crescent Bay for $75 and the promise of a summer. He was not an orphan, technically. His father was alive in Bakersfield somewhere, or had been 3 years ago. His mother was alive too, presumably wherever she had gone with the man who drove the blue Camaro. What Wesley was officially, according to the social worker who had come twice and then stopped coming, was a minor in transitional placement with relatives. The relative was his great-aunt Ruth, who was 81 and lived in a double-wide 2 miles inland and mostly slept. She did not know Wesley had bought a tower. She did not know Wesley had money. She did not know very much anymore, and Wesley loved her for it, because it meant she didn't ask him why he cried in the shower. Tower 4 stood on the South Jetty, the unfashionable end of the beach where the sand went gray and the seagrass grew up in knots. The stilts were bleached the color of old bone. The ladder was missing 3 rungs. The little square house on top leaned maybe 2 degrees off true, just enough that a pencil would roll. The windows were boarded with plywood. Someone had spray-painted "Keep Out" in the kind of lazy script that meant even the vandals hadn't been impressed. Wesley climbed the ladder on the morning of June 14th, with a claw hammer he had taken from Aunt Ruth's shed, and a backpack containing 2 peanut butter sandwiches, a flashlight, and a library copy of The Old Man and the Sea that was 9 days overdue. The padlock on the door was a joke, but he pried the whole hasp out of the wood with 2 poles. The door swung inward on 1 hinge. The smell hit him first, not rot, which was what he had expected. Something drier, sun-baked canvas and pipe tobacco and the faint ammonia ghost of old sunscreen, the kind in metal tubes that nobody made anymore. He stood in the doorway with the ocean behind him and let his eyes adjust. A wooden chair, a desk bolted to the floor, a pair of binoculars on a nail, a red metal first aid box stenciled Cerescent Bay Park stepped. 1971, a rolled-up rescue buoy. The fabric perished to powder where the sun had found it through a knothole. And on the desk, weighed down by a conch shell the size of a man's fist, a green cloth-bound ledger. Wesley sat down in the chair. The chair creaked but held. He opened the ledger. The first page was dated June 3rd, 1978. The handwriting was careful, sloping, a little fancy on the capitals, the way men of a certain generation wrote when they wanted to be taken seriously. At the top it said Lifewatch Log, TWR4H. Delacroix X. The entries were ordinary. Wind speed, tide. Number of bathers. 1 rescue, a boy of 9, recovered, released to mother, no injury. Wesley turned pages. The summer of 1978 passed in neat columns of weather and small heroism. then 1979, then 1980. He was about to close it when he noticed the red ink. It started halfway down the entry for July 11th, 1981. The black pen stopped mid-sentence. The red pen began. The handwriting was the same but tighter, as if the hand holding the pen had gotten colder. The entry said only, Rebecca Lynn, 14, last seen 4017 p.m., Rip Current south of Jetty. Searched until dark. Did not find. Below it, in the same red ink, a line by itself. I saw her go under. I did not reach her. Wesley fled forward. Another red entry, August 2nd, 1981. David Okafor, 11. Searched. Did not find. Another, August 19th. Malia Esperanza Cruz, 16. Searched. Did not find. There were 7 of them, 7 names, all written in red, all in the summer of 1981, all ending with the same 3 words. Wesley sat very still. The ocean behind him made the sound it always made, which was the sound of something enormous breathing in and breathing out and not particularly caring who heard it. He closed the ledger. He put the conch shell back on top. He went down the ladder and he walked 2 miles inland to Aunt Ruth's double wide, and he ate a bowl of cereal, and he went to bed at 7 in the evening and he did not sleep. The next morning he went to the library. The librarian was a man named Mr. Petrokis, who had a white moustache and wore the same brown cardigan year-round. Wesley had been coming to the library 3 afternoons a week since his mother left because it was air-conditioned and because Mr. Trondon. Petroskas did not ask questions except about what he was reading. Wesley put The Old Man and the Sea on the return desk. 9 days late, Mr. Petroskas said. That's $1.80. Can I pay it in installments? You can pay it in book reports. 1 paragraph. Did you like it? The boy should have gone with him. Mr. Petroskas looked at Wesley over the top of his glasses. That'll do, he said. He stamped the card. Something else today. I need newspapers. From 1981. Mr. Petroskas was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Microfiche is in the bag. I'll show you how. It took Wesley 4 afternoons to find them all. The Crescent Bay Courier ran small articles, the kind that appeared on page 6 between the grocery ads and the obituaries. Rebecca Lynn, 14, had gone missing from the South Jetty on July 11th, 1981. Her body had never been recovered. David Okafor, 11, the same. Maria Esperanza Cruz, 16, the same. All 7. All vanish in the same summer, all from the same stretch of water, all presumed drowned, all uncredited to the lifeguard on duty because, the articles noted, Tower 4 had been unmanned that summer. Budget cuts. The tower had been officially closed on June 1st, 1981. But someone had been in that tower. Someone named H. Delacroix had watched 7 children go under, and had written their names down in red ink and had not, according to the official record, existed at all. On the 5th afternoon, Mr. Petroskas brought Wesley a glass of water and sat down across from him at the microfiche reader. I knew Henri Delacroix, he said. Wesley looked up. He was my neighbor. In 1981, he had been a lifeguard for 20 years before they cut his job. He still went to the tower every morning. He took his coffee up there. My wife used to say it was the saddest thing, a man who had been made to retire by a line on a piece of paper. What happened to him? What happened to him, Mr. Petroskas took a long time to answer. He walked into the water on Labor Day in 1981. He left his shoes on the sand. He did not come back. Did anyone know about the kids? Nobody knew there were kids. The families knew, the papers knew, but they were different families, different days, different news cycles. Nobody put the 7 of them together. He paused. Nobody was counting Wesley. That's the thing about that kind of place. The tower was closed, so the deaths were just accidents. No one was supposed to be watching. He was watching, yes. He was watching. Wesley went home and climbed the ladder and sat in the chair and opened the ledger to the last red entry, the seventh one, dated August 30th, 1981. Below it, in smaller red letters, Henri Delacroix had written a sentence. Wesley had missed the first time because the ink had faded and the words had run down into the gutter of the binding. He leaned close. He read it aloud to make sure it was real. If anyone ever reads this, please tell their mothers I tried. Wesley was 12 years old. He had $75 worth of rotting tower and a library card, and a great-aunt who slept 16 hours a day. He did not know how to find 7 families. He did not know if they still lived in town or if they had moved or if they were alive. He did not know how to tell a mother that her dead child had been seen, really seen, by a man with a red pen in a condemned wooden room. He decided he would try anyway. The obstacle came 3 weeks in the form of a woman named Diane Haverford, who was the deputy director of the Parks Department, and who had received a complaint from a beach walker about a child climbing in and out of a condemned structure. She drove down to the jetty in a white county truck on a Tuesday morning and stood at the bottom of the ladder with her hands on her hips and called up, "You need to come down from there." Wesley came down. She was younger than he had expected. Maybe 35. She had her hair pulled back so tight it made her forehead look angry. She held up her clipboard like a shield. "Do your parents know you're here?" "I own it. Excuse me." "I bought it. At auction. June 12th. He pulled the pink carbon deed out of his back pocket. It was sweat-damp and soft as cloth by now. She took it. She read it. She read it again. He watched her face go through a series of small changes, like weather moving across a field. She landed on tired. "Kid," she said, "this isn't legal. A minor can't hold a county deed. Whoever sold this to you broke about 4 regulations." She didn't know I was 12. She absolutely knew you were 12. Wesley said nothing. Diane Haverford sighed. She looked up at the tower. She looked out at the water. For a second her face did a thing it had not done yet. It went soft at the edges, the way a face goes when it is remembering. Then she came back from wherever she had gone and her mouth tightened again. "I'm going to have to report this," she said. "You can't be here. The tower comes down in October." "I'm sorry. There's a logbook," Wesley said. "Inside. From 1981. It has names in it. 7 names. Kids who drowned. The lifeguard on duty was Henri Delacroix, except there wasn't supposed to be a lifeguard on duty because the tower was closed. He watched them die. He wrote down their names." She looked at him for a long moment. "What?" "I can show you." She climbed the ladder behind him. She was not a small woman, but she climbed lightly, like a person who had climbed ladders before. Inside the tower, she stood in the doorway with one hand braced on the frame, and she did not sit down in the chair even though Wesley offered it. He opened the ledger. He showed her the red ink. He showed her the 7 names. He showed her the last line. Diane Haverford put her clipboard down on the desk. She sat on the floor. She was wearing a pressed khaki uniform, and she sat on a floor that had not been swept in 45 years, and she did not seem to notice. "My brother," she said. Wesley waited. "My brother was David Okafor." Wesley did not know what to say, so he said nothing, which turned out to be correct. "My mother remarried," she said. "That's why the last names are different. I was 6 when he drowned. I remember the casket was empty. I remember my mother asking the lifeguard stand if anyone had seen him. I remember they said the tower was closed. Nobody was on duty. They were sorry." Her voice did not shake. It just got quieter. She asked every summer, for the rest of her life, if anyone had seen him, anyone at all. She ran her finger down the page. She stopped on David's name. "He saw him," she said. "Yes, Mom." She did not cry. That was the thing Wesley remembered later. She did not cry. She just sat on the floor with her finger on her dead brother's name, and she breathed in and breathed out in a way that was almost the rhythm of the surf below them. And after a while she said, "I'm not going to report the tower." "Okay, I'm going to report that the inspection is ongoing. That will buy us until January. Maybe March. Okay. We are going to find the other 6 families," she said. "You and me. I am going to use the county records, and you are going to use your library card, and we are going to find them, and we are going to give them this book. Do you understand me?" "Yes, ma'am." "And then the tower can come down." "Yes, ma'am." She stood up. She brushed the dust off the back of her uniform. She picked up her clipboard. At the door she stopped with her back to him. "Whoever sold this to you?" she said. "The clerk at the office." "Yes, ma'am." "Ice, ma'am. Tell her I said thank you." It took them the rest of the summer and most of the fall. They found Rebecca Lynn's mother first, in a bungalow in Vista, 82 years old, still watering the lemon tree in the yard her daughter had planted in 2nd grade. They found Maria Esperanza Cruz's twin sister, who had become a nurse in Escondido and who had not spoken her sister's name aloud in 23 years, and who, when Wesley read her the entry from the ledger, pressed the heel of her hand to her mouth and made a sound like a door closing. They found the Petersons in Oregon, the Hayes family in Arizona, the Brennans still on the same street in Crescent Bay 2 blocks from where their son had gone under. They found the Okafors. They found the last family, the Alvarados, in a nursing home in Bakersfield, and the grandmother who had raised the drowned boy was 94 and blind, and she held the open ledger in her lap and ran her fingers over the red ink as if braille, and she said, in Spanish, "You saw him. Thank you. You saw him." They did not photocopy the pages. Diane said photocopies were not the point. They brought the book itself. They let each family sit with it. They let each family read their own name and the 6 others. They explained carefully who Henri Delacroix had been. They explained that he had walked into the water on Labor Day in 1981. They did not explain why, because they did not have to. Wesley did not restore the tower. He swept it. He oiled the hinge on the door. He replaced the missing rungs on the ladder with scrapped lumber Mr. Patro Kroska's son-in-law donated. He did not paint over the keep-out on the plywood, because he thought, Henri Delacroix. If he had been the kind of man to keep a red pen in a closed tower, might have liked the sign. That was all. It was not a transformation. It was a small kind of tending. His mother did not come back. She did not call. She did not write. In October, Aunt Ruth died in her sleep with the television on, and the social worker came back, and Wesley went to live with a foster family in Carlsbad, who were kind in an efficient way, and who let him keep the ledger in a shoebox under his bed. On the last day of March, the county tore the tower down. Wesley was 13 by then. Diane Haverford drove him to the South Jetty that morning in the white county truck. They sat on the hood and watched the excavator take the stilts down one at a time. The little wooden room fell last, sideways into the sand, and a puff of dust came up that smelled for 1 second of pipe tobacco and old sunscreen, and then the wind from the water took it. Diane did not say anything. Wesley did not either. After a while, she took a folded page from the pocket of her uniform shirt and handed it to him. It was a photocopy of a page from the ledger, the only one she had made, the last one, with the sentence about the mothers. Across the bottom, in her own handwriting, small and neat like the clerk's at the county office, she had written, "For the boy who bought it." Wesley held the page in both hands. The wind tried to take it, and he did not let it. He looked out at the water. The tide was coming in. The excavator's arm swung through the blue morning air and set itself down on the sand to rest. And somewhere further up the beach, a woman was walking a yellow dog along the edge of the surf, and the dog ran into the foam and came out again and shook itself, and the woman laughed, a short, bright sound that traveled across the wet sand. And Wesley Arden sat on the hood of a county truck with a folded page in his hands and watched a stranger's dog shake the ocean out of its fur.